Hey everybody, Steve Bellman here. Hey, we continue our series getting to know the neck, and this is going to cover frets 5 through fret 9 actually. Most of it's going to be 5 to 8, but we're going to stretch a couple, or actually one note to the ninth fret. So again, to completely have control over the instrument, we need to know all the notes on the fretboard. And in the first video, we sort of did the first part of it, 1 through 5, or 1 through 4, sorry. So now we're going to do 5 through 9. And again, as we did before, we're going to get to know the notes, as well as we're going to use these notes for a technique exercise as well. So there's going to be two benefits from this video that you're gonna learn. One is each of the notes that we're going to cover on the fretboard. And then the second is we're going to take it and we're going to use it as a technique exercise to build our technique, which is very important as a musician to have dexterity and technique to be able to play whatever we hear. All right. But it's also important to know what we're playing as far as the notes so that we don't get sort of stuck in boxes of patterns, which patterns are fine, but if you don't necessarily know what you're playing, you're going to be limited in certain areas of the neck that you're going to kind of get stuck in. And maybe some of you are feeling that right now. These exercises that I'm giving you with getting to know the neck it's gonna open that up, and it's going to help you to understand the whole neck, which means you're going to be able to play from the first fret all the way up the guitar to the last fret. Okay? All right, so again, today we're going to go from 5 to 9. And first I'm going to go through each one of the notes. Remember, we're only dealing with natural notes right now. There's no chromatic notes. We'll get to that. But for the first, I think it's three videos, maybe 4, but at least 3 videos, we're going to just deal with natural notes. And remember the musical alphabet, right? It's A to G. Once you get to G, then A starts over again, an octave higher. And you go A to G, octave higher, A to G, and it just continues on. So our first note, then on the 5th fret of the E string, we're going to start with the beginning of the alphabet, musical alphabet, which is A. Okay? So our first note on the 5th fret will be A. Then we go a whole step up, or 2 frets. We end up on a B. So remember, we're just following the alphabet, right? Because we're just playing scalar notes. So after B, then with our 4th finger, we're going to play C. And so remember that in music theory, I talk about this in music theory, there's always going to be, on natural notes, there's always going to be a half step between B and C and E and F. Okay? It's on the piano, it's on the bass, it's on the guitar. It's just a theory thing. So every time you're on a B, the next note is going to be a natural note. It's going to be a C, and it's a half step. Now remember, a half step for guitar is 1 fret. A whole step for guitar are 2 frets. That's the way this instrument is designed. Okay? So again, let's go back. First note on the 5th fret with my first finger of the E string is A. Whole step, 2 frets. B. Half step, 1 fret is C. Okay? So there are 3 notes on the E string, A, B, and C. Now, again, what's after C in the alphabet? That's right, it's D. So starting on my A string on the 5th fret then, that's going to represent D. Whole step, 2 frets, E. Now remember, I said B, C, and E and F are always a half step apart. So from that E then, I'm going to go a half step or 1 fret, and that becomes F. Okay? So again, if I look at the D string, the A string, I have a D, E, and F. And on the E string, I have an A, a B, and a C. All right? So my last note on the A string was an F. So when I go to the D string now, what's next note in the alphabet? It's G. So start on G on the 5th fret of the D string. Now here I'm going to have to stretch for the B, okay? So You can either play the next note with your third finger or your second. I'm going to play it with my second, but either one will work. So again, G note on the D string, then a whole step. We start the alphabet again, right? An octave higher. So this is A again, an octave higher than this one. Then I'm going to stretch to the 9th fret for the B. Okay, so again, that's still on the D string. So I go from G on the D string, whole step to A, my second finger, whole step to B with my 4th finger. I stretch for that one, okay? And then the next string, which is my G string on the 5th fret, remember a half step between B and C, then a whole step to D. Now I could stretch for the E as well, but there's also an E on our B string, so I'm not going to do that. So going back to the beginning of the G string, I have C, then a whole step is D, then on my next string, the 5th fret, my B string, there's my E, okay? So again, go back to the G string, 5th fret, there's C, whole step to D, then on my B string, the 5th fret, E. Now remember, I said there's a half step between E and F and B and C. Half step from E is F, and then G, whole step. So on my B string, I have an E, 5th fret, F, 6th fret, and then a G, the 8th fret. Now we get to the end of the alphabet again, right? So what note do we have after G? Again, it goes back to A. So on my E string, the 5th fret is A, whole step to B, and remember that between B and C and E and F is a half step, so 1 fret up is C, and there I'm going to stop. All right? So if you notice, there are 3 A's. There's one here, there's one here, and there's one here. So this is a lower octave A. This is 1 octave higher than that lower octave A, and then this is 2 octaves higher than that lower octave A, okay? So again, you can see that there are a lot of A's on the instrument. They're just in what we call different ranges. Some are lower, some are in the middle, and some are higher, okay? All right, so then the hardest part, so that's going up. Then the hardest part is going to be coming down, okay? So again, I start on C, and then I play B. So now I'm going backwards in the alphabet, which makes it trickier. A, then G, F, 6th fret of the B string, then E, 5th fret, B string. Then I go to the G string, which is 7th fret, which is D. 5th fret is C. Now here, remember, I stretched for that B, so that's actually the 9th fret. And then play A, whole step below that, on the 7th fret. And then I play G on the D string on the 5th fret. Now I'm on the A string, F, E, D. Now I'm on the E string, C, B, A. So there you go, right? So notice that as I'm playing each note, I'm sounding the note, I'm playing the note, I'm sounding it, but I'm also saying the pitch, because we want to correlate each one of these notes that we're playing physically with the alphabet, with the name of the note, if you will, okay? Because there's a correlation there. We have to understand not only pattern-wise what the notes are, but we have to understand the name of the notes so that we're not going to be boxed in, right? That for a string player is one of the hardest things to overcome, because it's such a pattern-oriented instrument that it's really easy to get locked in patterns. And patterns are okay, but you have to know not only the patterns, but you should know the notes so that you're not locking yourself into one part of the instrument or one specific pattern, okay? If you know the notes, you're able to break out of those kind of things. All right, so here, there's 2 exercises we're going to use with this. The first one, we're just going to play half notes. We're going to play up, and then we're going to play back. And we're going to say the notes as we play it. Now, With this, I would probably say it's okay, at least when you start. You don't necessarily have to use a click. Just play it loose. That's okay. Just get comfortable with what the notes are. And if you have to take a little extra time to think about it, don't worry about it. Just start with playing the note and naming the note. Okay, that's the first thing. Then, when you feel comfortable with that, and that's what we're going to do now, then you actually put a time element to it and try to play the notes. And if you can, say them. Okay, so those are the first kind of things I would encourage you to do, because again, we want to get the names of these notes and that aligned with our finger position. We want to get those two things together before we kind of move on. But the second part of it then is going to be using it as a technique exercise. So in that case, you can play this and don't worry so much about saying the notes, but just have it in time with a click. Play half notes first, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and just use it as more of a, what we would call a chop builder, building our technique, building our speed, building the cleanliness with which we play these patterns and these notes. Okay, so those are two elements that I would encourage you guys to go for. I'm going to give you an example of just playing the notes with half notes as more of a technique exercise right now. Okay, but again, you can do it with quarter notes. You can do it with, and if you have to start on whole notes, that's fine too. Do it with quarter notes. You could do it with eighth notes, 16th notes, triplets, whatever you need to do to kind of build your technique. But for this one, we're just going to use half notes as an example, and then you can do the others in your own time. And I would encourage, again, to practice with a metronome. I'm just going to give you a click, okay, and snapping it, and we're just going to play this together. Again, we're going to play all the notes up, and then we'll play them back. I'm not going to say the notes this time. I'm just going to play the notes, but I'm really going to focus on my sound, and I'm going to focus on the time, trying to keep the time solid, and just make sure my technique is clean. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, and play, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Stretch for that B. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now play a whole note on this note. 1, 2, 3. Now let's go back down, starting on C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Stretch. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So there you go. So for some of you, maybe that was easy as a technique exercise. For some of you, maybe it was hard. You decide whether it needs to be slower or faster, but the tools are there, you guys. All you have to do, if this is too easy for you, play quarter notes, and speed up the tempo. If that's too easy, go to eighth notes. And again, speed up the tempo. You could do half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes at whatever tempo. You could go up to 200 if you want. So there's a lot you can do with just this simple exercise in terms of building your technique and in terms of building your skill, okay? So don't just take it for granted, oh, this is too easy. You can make it more challenging. And again, focus, if you're just starting out, focus too on learning the names of the notes. So that to this point, from video 1 to video 2, we should be up to the 9th fret and knowing what the pitches are, okay? So that's a great accomplishment. So really focus on those two elements, building your technique and knowing the notes up until, well, for this video, it's 5 to 9. But ultimately, we're going to know them from fret 1 to fret 9 after you finish this, okay? All right, you guys. Well, have fun with this. I hope it helped. and I'll see you guys on the next video. All right. God bless. Take care.